WinCam is more like the public library. It's a resource for folks who live or work in Winchester. But instead of loaning out books or those types of resources, we're loaning out cameras. People see us at government meetings like a town meeting or select board meeting, and they think that's sort of WinCam's role, but there's really a lot more to what we're covering and what we're documenting. For example, the high school sports that we cover. There's all kinds of community events that we not only document, but we normally will carry live, and we're actually archiving all of those too. So the town's history is actually being recorded. In addition, WinCam is a great place to pick up some professional production skills at a reduced price. People are often really surprised when they come down and visit us for the first time. They're amazed at the facility itself and the resources that we're able to offer to residents. People are always like, I can't believe I didn't know this was here. Well, access to media shouldn't be limited to those who can pay the high price, right? So that's what community media is all about. You should be able to come in and learn how to create your own media, and you should be able to turn on your television or your computer and access local information and entertainment. That's what WinCam does really well. That's what we're all about. That's the mission. And that's what public access in its core was set up to do from the very beginning.
WinCam is excited to let you know about a new course we're offering to Winchester residents. Introduction to Video Editing in Adobe Premiere Pro is an intensive 5-session, one-on-one or small group course designed to provide a solid foundation in post-production. From file organization to color grading, we'll provide a comprehensive overview of the program, which has become the industry standard for video editing. Participants will learn by doing and leave having edited a polished scene. Premiere Pro is one of the top editing programs used by professionals, and since it's part of the Adobe Creative Cloud, Premiere integrates seamlessly with other industry standard programs such as After Effects for visual effects and Audition for audio mixing and editing. WinCam will soon offer courses in other software programs so students can get an education that elsewhere would cost thousands of dollars. Our class is ideal for students interested in pursuing media as a career, adults looking to broaden their skill set, or anyone who is passionate about content creation and the visual arts. This class will be taught on-site at WinCam by our Training and Outreach Coordinator, Kayla Avitabile.
Hi, I'm Kayla, and I'm excited to use my experience in video editing to help people in town learn these skills and bolster their media toolset. To learn more about how to sign up and course logistics, scan the QR code or visit wincam.org/Adobe.
This course is offered year-round at $325 for all 5 sessions. Scholarships are also available for those in need of financial assistance. Finally, a year of membership to WinCam is included in the price of the course, giving you access to our state-of-the-art facilities and equipment.
We hope to see you here for this course. Soon, you'll be making videos just like this one.
need volunteers. In order to keep up the level of sports coverage WinCam currently provides, we are in need of additional support. What does WinCam cover? WinCam broadcasts Winchester High School volleyball, football, basketball, hockey, and more. These games stream live on our website, as well as on our cable channels. All games are then uploaded to YouTube for replay. If you're interested in sports broadcasting, camera operation, commentating, and more, email us at wincam@wincam.org to see how you can get involved.
Good evening, town meeting members. We are going to use our clickers today to do the official roll call numbers right now to get our number count. If you noticed, you didn't have your numbers to turn in when we came in, so we're going to do it this way today. It has to do with staffing at this moment. We have someone out, so we decided to do this to be, excuse me? I haven't started the vote yet. Excuse me. Let's not be punchy today. Take a deep breath. But yeah, the screen is up and it's already registering. But yes, the light is not on yet.
If they haven't been here, just remind them to press.
Hit the green light, will ya?
Yeah, we got 101, so we're good to start. Okay. And everybody signed in? Okay. I'm assuming.
All right, so the green light is on, so please check your clickers. We'll do the roll call and roll through. We have a dead one up here. Thank you. I really appreciate you being alive. Don't change.
Hang on, Jack, where are you sitting? Okay, I'll bring it to you. Okay. So, okay. Today is November 16th.
Like a bad act, I'm sorry. Oh my God.
It's really dark back there.
What's that?
It's really dark back there.
I think she's okay. Yeah, she's okay.
Okay, yep.
What's your name? Sarah Gannon? Okay, what does it look like you have juice in the front top corner? There should be like a little image. Okay, so it's working, and if you sign in the back, Sarah, you're fine for this. I've got you on the official record. Okay?
Did she just get here?
Yep. All right.
The voting's been closed, that's just why it's not.
All right, the 2023 Fall Town Meeting will please come to order. Town meeting requiring 100 members for a quorum and having 115 in attendance. I see there is a sufficient number of members present to permit us to open the meeting, and I do so declare. Welcome to all, to our town meeting members. Welcome back. Hope you had a nice week, and to all out in the hallway and on WinCam, welcome as well. We're happy you are with us. We will continue our meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. For those members who would like the option to join me, please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. As a reminder, if you want a sense of normalcy in a tradition that is older than our Commonwealth itself, we need to be unanimous as a meeting to have the decorum and restraint from putting oneself's immediate wants over the needs of all. We must bear in mind as we cast our votes, not only our personal interests, but also those of our community as a whole. As we deliberate, let each of us here tonight maintain an open mind, an open heart, graciousness when we disagree, a healthy sense of humor, so that debates or other actions of this meeting will not be a source of division among us when our business here is finished. I've had a request from the Committee of Government Regulations. They would like to meet this evening, so I'm going to ask that they head out and have a quick meeting. Instead of holding the meeting, the chair has said that they are okay if we proceed with Article 33 while they have a quick meeting to discuss the document. For those who did not check their emails or did not pick up the piece of paper, there is a change in the motion on Article 30 from the sponsor. They will speak to that when they get to the podium. But in the meantime, we'll move to Article 33, and then we'll return back to 30 and go in order for the remaining articles hopefully, if everything is in order. Yes. I'm happy to do it. If usually the order can be changed at any time by the moderator for the best interest of the meeting. But I'm happy to take a vote. All those in favor of taking Article 33, the report on the CPA, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, the ayes have it. Let's continue to 33. The vote's already been called.
It is Robert's rules, Madam Moderator, it is Robert's rules of order that any town meeting member may request a different form of voting after a voice vote has been called.
Grab your clickers out.
I gotta give this to Jack. Jack, sorry, I was coming for you, but.
A vote in the affirmative means that you would like to hear Article 33 before continuing with Article 30. A vote in the negative means that you do not want to hear Article 33 and wait for the Committee on Regulations and continue with Article 29. 30. How do you vote? There are 110 in the affirmative, 13 in the negative. The affirmative has it, and we will continue on to Article number 33. Article 33 is to hear the report of the Community Preservation Act Study Committee. It is moved and seconded that the report of the Community Preservation Act Study Committee be received and filed. Article is coming before you from the Select Board. It requires a majority vote. This is similar to Article 1, where we hear the report and we put it on file with the town records. On behalf of the Select Board is Michael Betancourt. Oh, my apologies. On behalf of the Select Board, Anthea Brady, their Vice Chair.
Thank you. Am I on? Yes. Can you hear me now? No. It's a Verizon commercial. Can you hear me now? Yes. No. Just be taller. Good. I'll work on that. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Welcome back to town meeting. The Select Board has been discussing the Community Preservation Act for about a year and a half, going on 2 years now, in terms of what would be the appropriate timing to bring the Community Preservation Act to town meeting and for a vote, and then to bring that to the town electors for a vote, which is sort of the process prescribed. For those who are not familiar with it, The Community Preservation Act is a tool that allows communities to create a local fund, which is specifically used for protection of open space, historic preservation, affordable housing, and outdoor recreation. Community preservation funds are raised locally through a tax surcharge, which is not allowed to be more than 3%. And then the state provides matching funds to towns who have a Community Preservation Act. And as mentioned, we're looking for to bring this to town meeting for a vote in March of 2024, such that it would go for a general ballot question in November of 2024. Part of that is in conversation with the Community Preservation Committee, who provides some technical assistance to towns who are looking at Community Preservation Act, and provided some recommendations on timelines for most successful adoption and implementation. So this kind of discussion and came to a head in the fall of 2023. The Select Board formed a CPA study group that was launched in September. That group is working together with some stakeholder groups in those specific areas around housing, outdoor recreation, historic preservation, and then is issuing a report to town meeting prior to the spring. We have a draft report that's in progress. We will then present a recommendation from the study group for this formal vote in the spring. And in between now and spring, we'll be conducting public outreach as well, and more information beyond the report. So sessions to help folks understand exactly what's involved with the Community Preservation Act, opportunities to answer questions. And then that would roll to a townwide vote in November of 2024 at the same time as the presidential election, should it be successful in the spring. We do want to thank the members of the CPA Study Committee. So they represent appointees from the Finance Committee, the Historical Commission, School Committee, Housing Partnership Board, and Affordable Housing Trust, the Field Management Committee, the Planning Board, Conservation Commission, and then members of town staff, the town manager, comptroller, our town planner, and rec department. We also want to thank two members of town meeting who've been involved with this, Jen Ryan and Ken, sorry, who both didn't make it to the slide, but were critical to this work with us. So kind of the format of passing the Community Preservation Act also involves creating a Community Preservation Committee. And that the reason we included representation from the members on the previous slide is because the Community Preservation Committee has a board of 5 to 9 members, which is made up of representatives for these different areas in terms of housing, recreation, historic preservation, et cetera. So that board would then make recommendations on the projects that would be eligible for the CPA funds, and that are proposed to our legislative body, which is effectively town meeting. I will pass it over to Mike now, who's going to go into some more extensive details around the financial impact.
Thanks, Anthea. Thank you, Madam Moderator. Town meeting. At the core of the Community Preservation Act is a surcharge on residents, as Anthea mentioned, for different uses which are in high demand and are underfunded at the local level. Certainly we've seen playgrounds, we've seen historical buildings here that need financial support. So the Financial Impact Committee, Jen Ryan, myself, Stacy Ward, and led by Hafiz Adamji, have put together some financial information on this, and Hafiz really took the lead on this and did the majority of the work, but unfortunately is away. So you have me to kind of move through it. So we first started examining different scenarios on different exemptions, and what we found out through these exemptions were that the excluding $100,000 off the top of the residential assessment, low income and moderate income seniors, and commercial industrial properties, really had very little impact on the overall number of that we were generating from the revenue. So that's a good thing. So it allows us to provide some relief to certain groups in town and still generate substantial revenue. So just to give you a sense of what we're recommending, at least at this stage, it may change later, but at this point, we're looking at a 1.5% surcharge. The surcharge can go from 0.5% all the way up to 3%. When we look at the impact, it's just under $2 million a year that we would generate at 1.5%. So, and when you look to that, that $306,000 is a match from the state that we would receive as well, which was at 20%. Was actually this past year is one of the lower years for the state match. It vacillates between different years based on revenue. And here's a slide here where we looked at the impact of the different exemptions and what it would look like for us moving forward. As I explained, with the multiple exemptions for commercial, for seniors, for first $100,000 off low income, it really had very little noticeable impact. It was about $61,000 difference. So we feel good moving forward with those exemptions. And just to give you a sense, we plan our capital plans and our budget usually around 5 years out. So the revenue generated from the adoption of the CPA would be around $10 million if we're at 1.5%. And obviously there are other percentage increases that we can discuss, but for us right now, it's a sizable amount over a short period of time that really goes to the highest needs in town. And just to give you a sense as well, I know Anthea mentioned that we would be forming a group after the CPA passes that would make recommendations on how to spend that money. 10% has to go into each bucket, so affordable housing, outdoor space and recreation, and historic preservation and affordable housing. And then the balance of it can be spent for different objectives that are recommended by the committee. Those recommendations will come back here, right? So town meeting gets the final vote on those expenditures. And just another slide here, just showing the cumulative revenue for Winchester based on what we're looking at, and that's without the state match. So pretty good revenue going to the places where we need it. And here's an idea of what the surcharge will cost residents individually. When we're looking at that 1.5% based on our current assessment average, it's $194 per resident per year. So about $50 a quarter, what we're recommending for the surcharge. So there was conversation around higher surcharges that get higher state match, but I think that there was a sense that this 1.5% was a reasonable surcharge on residents from where we are now. And just to show here, I think if we look back to see if we would have passed this 10 years ago, we really lost quite a bit of revenue. So $15 million, and that would have been including $2.7 million from the state. So we're leaving a lot of revenue on the table on things that we have been spending and things that we have actually neglected over several years that would have had a significant cost saving to us to have done them earlier. So it's a pretty impactful slide, I think, there, and you can see the growth rate over a period of time of the revenue. So, and that would be if we had applied 1.5% surcharge, which we're recommending over the past 10 years, if that makes sense. So here's a few of the projects that would qualify here. Renovation of Town Hall. This would be, we have HVAC, we have multiple windows, roofs, things like that. It's a historic building, and so it would be eligible for CPA funds as well. The library, which you heard about, the roof and window replacement, that would be eligible for these funds. And again, the our schools are also, many of them are historic. In the Lincoln Elementary School, chiller replacements, another perfect example of something that otherwise would be funded out of the capital and building stabilization funds, and which are, as you've heard, just very overtaxed. And there's a long list of projects there that have been delayed. So
You've reached your 10 minutes.
just need one minute.
Please proceed.
Thank you. And just to give you a sense here, there are about 200 communities in the Commonwealth out of 351 that have adopted the Community Preservation Act. And so they've successfully worked with their capital planning committees and with their managers and mayors, and have really put this into effect to really stabilize their historic facilities, build and maintain fields, really advocate for affordable housing, and maintain outdoor recreation spaces as well. So I hope that we can okay. Incoming notes here. Over the next few months, we'll be finalizing the CPA report, which we will submit to everyone, and that study will have all of this information in it and kind of our final recommendations. In the meantime, we'll be back for Springtown 2024 town meeting. The Community Preservation Org website is excellent. It has a lot of historical information, shows you what other communities have been doing. And if you have any questions, please email the select board or the town manager, and we will be doing a lot of outreach over the next few months as well, and having different meetings and really connect with stakeholders as well. So thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Moderator, for the extra time.
Thank you. To place this report on file, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? The ayes have it, and the motion passes. Moving back, let's go back to Article 30. Thank you so much to town meeting for allowing the community and government regulations to review the amendments that came in at the late hour. For those town meeting members, the motion was in a handout that looks like this. We will also put it on the screen as well. There are some amendments coming in from the citizen. I believe, Mr. Do you have a slide with the new language? Are you talking about that? No. Can you put it up, and we'll give town meeting a moment to read it?
Madam Moderator?
Yes.
May I address something other than the government regulation article about this new language?
Not at this time.
This is not the new one.
That's the revised. See, it says
Oh,
revised
that's what he
motion.
sent me this afternoon?
Yes, this is correct.
Mr. Buckhouse.
Is there point of order, or what's the point of order?
This is not 7 days' notice, and there is a major change in the language. And I think we need to, then I would ask Madam Moderator to decide whether we should have a vote to read this.
So we had a big debate about this today with town council. Traditionally, we have always voted the 7-day rule in the readings. It's not very clear, so we're going to go with the tradition, and we will vote the 7-day as requested by the town meeting member. Town meeting members, at this moment, we will use our clickers on this, the 7, because I know this is going to not be unanimous. We have a 7-day rule that motions with amendments coming in need to come to you before 7 days. Typically, we waive those. So this time, if you would like to take up the motion as amended, you would be in favor. If you do not want to take up the motion. Yes.
Could you explain what the I don't know what changed?
It's right on the screen.
The blue, the 3 words, the blue?
Yes.
That's the only thing?
The things in blue are what is the additional changes. If you can't see that, the reappointment shall be made prior to the appointment of new members by a majority vote. The majority vote has been changed, along with the reappointment shall be made prior to the appointment of new members by an appointing committee, and the composition of that committee has been changed. Originally, the sponsor had moderator, the chair of the finance committee, and the immediate past chair of the finance committee. And the immediate past chair of the finance committee has been stricken, and the board of assessor chair has been replaced with that. Does everyone have a copy?
My staff handed out.
Those were the original changes of the original book in our bylaws. So everything that's in black was what was originally proposed in your motion booklet. The items in blue are what the new changes are that are outside the 7 days. So let's go back to our clickers. We are voting to see if we want to accept the amendments and waive the 7-day rule. If you are in favor, you click yes. If you are not in favor, you click no. This is a simple majority vote. We'll scroll through to make sure everyone's vote registers correctly. Oh, thank you very much.
I can only go forward. So
We have to go through it and then we'll come back.
Yes? I'm sorry, can you speak up?
My vote didn't register.
And how do you vote?
That's one of your names.
Susan Julia.
Thank you.
Precinct 5.
So we fully registered. There is 90 in the affirmative, 43 in the negative. The affirmative has it and the motion passes. So that will move to Article 30 as amended in the handout. Yep. On what behalf?
Whether or not the article is in order or not.
Why do you believe it's out of order?
There is language in there that is possibly against state law.
That would be taken up in the debate and brought to the attention of the body at that time. On behalf of Article 30, it is moved and seconded that the town approve Article 30 as printed in the warrant with the following changes: that the chair of the Finance Committee be stricken out and it be the Board of Assessors, and also that the appointments shall be made prior to the appointment of the new members by a majority vote of an appointing committee. On behalf of the citizens petition, Mr. Steve Bosansky, welcome.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. And through you to the members, my name is Steve Bosansky. I live here in Winchester in Precinct 4. I rise today in support of Article 30, and I'm respectfully asking for your support to also support Article 30. First, I'd like to acknowledge my town meeting fellow member, Mr. Matthews, who obviously put a lot of time and effort into his proposal that we talked about earlier in the week. Takes a lot of guts and a lot of gumption
to put something forward and get up in front of all of you and talk about it and defend it. So I just want to acknowledge that and let you all know that I respect that. I want to also thank the moderator and the clerk for their support and assistance throughout this process. Hasn't been easy. As you can see, there is some late changes. That was based on some feedback that we received. But again, Madam Moderator and Madam Clerk, thank you very much for your help and support. Without you, I would not be up here in front of the meeting today. I'd like to briefly touch upon my view of Finance Committee and talk a little bit about my motivation and my intent behind Article 30, and then just go through what it does. I don't have a lot of slides. What you see up there is what you get. It's a pretty simple and straightforward proposal. In my opinion, Finance Committee plays a really important and unique role in town governance. I think that's something we can all agree on. They give us the numbers. They don't debate policy. They don't give us policy positions, but they tell us, can we afford things or not in our town? And if we can't afford them, what might be the best way to pay for those projects? And I think it's incredibly important that this body maintains its independence, should not be swayed by political influence or any other type of influence. We need to hear from them, and we need the straight numbers from this group, and that's what they give us. As we know, this is one of the most demanding volunteer positions in all of town government, and I am grateful to past, present, and future Finance Committee members who are willing to do this job. It's tough. It's not easy, especially when most of the times we reject their recommendations. But that's what they're here for, is to provide that voice, to provide that insight that I know I do not have time to go through the detailed financial analysis of all these proposals. They do that for us. And again, I'm very grateful. And that's kind of what drove me here and then what drove me to file Article 30. They don't have the authority to vote. They can only make recommendations, and then it's up to us as town meeting members to take those recommendations or reject those recommendations. My goal here is pretty simple and straightforward. I hope to put in place a process where none currently exists. We do not have anything in our bylaws that talks about reappointments to committees. And so I've taken it upon myself, and I've asked for feedback from a lot of town meeting members, Finance Committee members, past and present, and other members in our community, their thoughts on this as I try to put together a proposal that can put a policy in place where, again, there is no policy right now. This can give us clarity on how to move forward, and this can allow our town to continue with these appointments and reappointments in an efficient and orderly manner. In my opinion, this is something that can help keep the wheels of town government rolling. And to me, it seemed like having a reappointment process makes sense. So that's what we're here to do, and that's what I'm here to talk about. Let me describe what is in this proposal. First of all, I want everyone to realize it doesn't change the initial appointment process. That process has been in place since, and thanks to the clerk for sending this around, it's been in place since 1992. It's a committee of the moderator, the chair of the select board, and the chair of the finance committee. They do the initial appointments. That is not changing. What is changing, or what we hope to have change, is that once you serve a term on finance committee and you want to do another 3 years, I don't know why, but some people do, that process, in my opinion, should be a little bit easier because you've been through the vetting process already. You've been through the top 3 in town government. They let you on finance committee. If you're there and you've done a good job, most cases, let's have them come back. They have the experience, they have the knowledge, they know what it takes. So why wouldn't we want to encourage them to come back? So again, this is designed to bring clarity where none exists and to have an atmosphere and environment where finance committee members want to come back and do some more of that work. It does direct the finance committee chair to preside over that initial appointment process. That's new. But then let's talk a little bit about the reappointment process itself. This establishes a clear process, and it establishes an appointment reappointment committee consisting of the moderator, the finance chair, and the chair of the Board of Assessors. And that's one of the changes. The original draft included the finance chair, the moderator, and the prior finance chair to be on that committee. I heard a lot of feedback from a lot of you, and then everyone said that kind of stacks the deck in favor of finance committee. That's not fair. And that's the reason why I've decided to go with the chair of the Board of Assessors. With this, I was looking for an impartial, independent voice who really doesn't have a huge stake in the outcome, but who's somebody amongst us in our community who can sit as a part of this committee, as a part of this process, and make a judgment call on if this person should or should not be reappointed to the Finance Committee. It does require the reappointment process to be considered prior to new appointments. So let's think about the end of 2023. Let's say, for example, maybe there's 5 Finance Committee members that will end their term. This idea would allow them, if they choose to serve another 3-year term, this puts them at the front of the line. So before we entertain new appointments that go through that other process, similar but distinct, we're going to give them the benefit of the doubt. We're going to give them that first chance to serve a second or third term. It also requires a vote and a majority vote of the committee on reappointments. And so to me, again, this provides clarity, it provides a process, and so we know how to handle these situations. And I think that's a good thing going forward. I hope you can join me in supporting Article 30. My goal here is to try to put together a process that is fair, that is objective, and that is impartial. And I'm hopeful that this could be something that we could all rally behind and get together. We know that there may be a big, more comprehensive study coming down the line. The clerk has alluded to this a couple times, and I look forward to that process. But between now and then, I'm saying I think this is something that makes sense. I've said to a lot of people as we've gone through this discussion, I do not claim to have all the answers, but I do recognize this is something that can help us in town government. And so I'm willing to listen to others who have different ideas, and that's something we can discuss down the road. But again, I want to thank you for the opportunity. I want to thank everyone for their support, and I want to urge my fellow town meeting members to vote yes on Article 30. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Boksansky. May we hear a recommendation from the Select Board?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Good evening, town meeting. The Select Board unanimously voted unfavorable action on Article 30. In addition, we, for the same reasons that we voted unfavorable action 4-1 on Article 29, we believe that it's time for a bylaw review and are willing to work with the clerk in order to do that, but we're long overdue for that. I said that under Article 29. In addition, because we feel so strongly that we're ready for a charter review and a bylaw review, the Select Board also voted unanimously to file or request a motion to indefinitely postpone Article 30 in order to stave off some of the confusion from the other night. We thought we would just put that out there because we all feel very strongly that it's time for a charter review and a bylaw review, and we're ready to work with the clerk to get that done.
At this time, the Select Board has made a motion to indefinite postpone. However, to be fair to all the boards and committees so they have equal opportunity, we'll go through that and then we will take under consideration the Select Board's motion to indefinitely postpone. On behalf of the Finance Committee, could you please give your recommendation on Article 30 as amended?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. FinCom voted favorable action on the original proposal. Favorable action 8 in favor, 2 unfavorable, and 2 abstain. Just tonight on the revised proposal, we voted 8 favorable action, 3 unfavorable action, and 1 abstain. My comments are just about the reappointment process only. Experienced members are very valuable to Finance Committee. The reappointments, in my view, and you may have heard me say this in several different forums, historically, reappointments have always been handled first. It just makes sense. Before you can choose among new members for the committee, the appointing committee, historically, over many, many years, needs to know how many of the current members are returning so that the number of spaces are known. So experienced members are very valuable. It's how the younger members learn about what FinCom does. So you have 1-year members, 2-year members, and 3-year members. We keep divvying the work and spreading it around from department to department. It's how FinCom learns from experienced members. So it's very, very important from our point of view, and many chairs before me, that reappointments take place first. The second point I want to make is that reappointments of productive members should be routine. And you may have heard that a former select board chair commented on this several years ago. This is not new. This is a practice that has been common for FinCom reappointments for many, many years. Except for malfeasance or for non-performance, people who don't come or don't do the work. On FinCom, you can't hide. There's no place to hide on FinCom. The work gets divided. You have to do the write-ups. They're due at a certain time, and we vote on these budgets. So except for malfeasance or non-performance, reappointments of qualified members should be routine. And asking questions and taking positions in good faith by Finance Committee members, that's our job. That's our commitment to you, because that's what we are supposed to be delivering to you. Good faith views on numbers, on the financial impact of what's coming before you. As I told you on the first night, we don't decide, we can't buy a pencil. We can't spend $1. But asking questions and taking positions in good faith is what our job is. That's our job. And to allow, and I want to say this carefully, members who are up for reappointment should not be quizzed about votes they have taken in good faith in their role on FinCom. So the change tonight that Mr. Boxansky referred to, we think, we just, as I mentioned, we voted 8 to 3 to 1. It keeps extraneous things out of the reappointment process. The last point I'll make is that historically, the Finance Committee chair has always convened these meetings. The reason the Finance chair convenes the meetings is you have to make all the calls and figure out when people are available and do all the lifting. It's not a fun job. It's not a power job. The Finance Committee chair has 1 vote on either of these appointing committees.
Dr. Miller, you've reached your 3 minutes. How much time do you need?
May I have 30 seconds?
Yes, please proceed.
So the finance chair isn't controlling these appointment meetings, but historically the finance chair has convened them. And that became an issue, and it shouldn't be an issue. So for these reasons, the Finance Committee is in favor of favorable action on Article 30. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have a recommendation from the Committee on Government Regulations? So unfortunately, you didn't get to hear them on Article 29 because of the motion that was made by the presenter, but you get to hear from them tonight.
Yes, with your permission, thank you, Madam Moderator. With your permission, I would ask Town Council to opine on the language in the proposed 4.1.6, filling of vacancies. And after Town Council has said that, I want to point out that just as was done in Article 29, language that was inconsistent and possibly against state law. We gave the proponent the opportunity to make those changes so that at least when it came to town meeting, we were to discuss the merits of the article and not the language of the article. And so with that, Madam Moderator, may I ask
Yep.
Town Council?
Town Council on behalf of the Committee of Government Regulations.
Elizabeth Leiden, for the record. The issue that I have is with the word shall under reappointments. We understand that there's a preference for reappointments to go first, but the way that this reads, it's construed to require reappointment, and under the law, nobody can be guaranteed that. It's not a right. And so the recommendation would be to change the word shall to may.
Thank you. There is a motion to indefinitely postpone. Is there a second? We need one person to, did you get one?
Yes, I did. Krista.
Krista. Thank you.
I have a question for council.
You can go over and speak to her, but now's not the time.
Okay.
Town meeting members, there's a motion to indefinitely postpone the Article 30 that is before you. The questions and comments should only be about should we or should we not indefinitely postpone and why. I will start with Mike over here. I believe you were in line first.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I'm glad that Mr. Mucci made the motion to indefinitely postpone because I would have made a motion to indefinitely postpone. I'm also glad that Mr. Boksansky noted the amount of work, and I believe Mr. Matthews did as well, the amount of work that our moderator and our town clerk do when these changes happen. I think this body isn't necessarily aware of how much happens behind the scenes, and they do a lot, and I'm very grateful to them for that. With 2 citizen petitions going forward, it speaks to the necessity for an improvement in clarity in the appointment process. And a huge thanks to both of the proponents for the work and the thought that they put into this, because they saw a need and they put some thought and they put some work into it, and that's what town meeting and local government is all about. But it's actually not just FinCom that we need to think about this for. There's no standard, consistent process to appoint and reappoint members to the various non-elected boards and committees. I can think of issues recently with the Zoning Board of Appeals, FinCom, a bit further back with the Planning Board and the Disability Action Committee, and still further back, I remember issues with the Conservation Commission. Contrary to what was suggested by another town meeting member earlier in one of our previous sessions, these inconsistencies create confusion, the impression that it's arbitrary, and a deep sense of unfairness. I can name several competent, capable people that are so turned off by the process that they won't get involved in town government in any capacity, and that's a huge loss. Likewise, it's a shame that we rejected the concept of a committee to review. I'd make a motion to refer to such, but I don't think this body seems amenable to it right now. The suggestion that representation would be chosen by us, town meeting members, to elect reps from our precincts, as we do for rules and government regs, means we all have a say. There have been 2 successful committees with precinct representation that have done an excellent job soliciting public input, the Master Plan Steering Committee and the Communications Committee. I think this would have been an excellent idea and would have represented all views fairly. That said, I think we need to take a pause. I think we need to allow a committee to be formed and established so that a thoughtful and fair process that is government-wide can be established in the future. We've heard a lot of really interesting and novel ideas, novel to this body at the very least, and I think we need more time to really sift through the details and nuances. Thank you.
Hi, town meeting. I'm Jackie Welch from Precinct 5. Thank you, Mr. Boksansky. Thank you also to the FinCom chair for sharing your important comments. So on the precise question of whether or not this article should be indefinitely postponed, I think the article is pretty precisely worded. It's not clear to me that what's about to be studied particularly given the vote against having a study committee for Article 29, would include this precise issue about reappointments. I agree with most of what Ms. Court just eloquently stated. There is an issue about reappointments and appointments. When I was on the select board, I just recall that often our schedule was so pressing that there were a lot of delays in making appointments, specifically to ZBA, for example, and maybe some other factors entered into that. So I do think we can do two things at once. I think this is a sort of a fair suggestion about trying to give some incentive to make it a little bit easier for those who are interested in reappointments to FinCom. If it ends up that that process has some issues, this new process, then obviously that could be studied at the same time as all these other matters that Ms. Court so carefully described. So I'm in favor of this article and not indefinitely postponing. I get the sense from town meeting, though, that it'll probably be easier to just sort of think, oh, well, why don't we just study everything all at once? But I'm not sure, as a technical point, that this precise issue is part of the agenda for what's going to be studied by the various committees that have been referenced tonight, not to mention the fact that it will take them a while. It may not be a year or so before their recommendations are even presented to town meeting again. So there's been an issue identified about FinCom reappointments. I think I may have this wrong, but I think there's often vacancies on FinCom. So it seems like there's support for this from FinCom. I think we've all recognized that there's often notices about vacancies. I don't see an issue in trying this and therefore not indefinitely postponing and bringing Article 30 as amended to a vote. And then there'll be a raft of items to be discussed by these other groups planning to study all kinds of things in governance that are all super important, as Ms. Court described. So I'm not in favor of indefinite postponement. I think we should give this a try. I think it's important what the FinCom chair has articulated. Thank you.
Thank you. Further questions?
Dorothy Simboli, Precinct 6. I want to concur with Ms. Welch on what she just so eloquently stated. I recall, I think it was a couple sessions ago, one of the FinCom members saying that they were going to have some openings. They were going to have, positions turning over, and she was concerned that there wouldn't be somebody to then necessarily fill those positions. I don't think that we can wait. I'm not in favor of postponing this motion. I think we need to keep the process rolling, and I'm not exactly sure what brought it about. I'm not sure if it maybe is just it sounds like they're trying to make it a more efficient process so that they don't have openings on FinCom, and I think it's really important that this work always get done for us. And again, like Ms. Welch said, we can revisit this when we overhaul all of the rules with regard to appointments and reappointments. I know I serve on the Board of Appeals, and I know that we run into the same issue there. And it is typically just the process itself. It just takes time. And the other important point is that it is so valuable to have people who have already been serving and who continue to serve to teach the other people on the board the process and how things roll. You can't just come in and have like a whole new committee or a whole new board starting from scratch every term or every session. So the one thing I was hoping to hear was from the proponent. I was hoping to hear a response as to why, to the select board's motion to indefinitely postpone, and maybe have a better understanding of why this issue is so critical to make a decision here now tonight.
Mr. Boksansky, I believe you answered this in your presentation. Did you have any further words to add regarding the timing?
Time is of the essence, I would say. And again, I think this is something that could potentially fit in right now.
Yeah, can you use the mic? So everyone at WinCam will not be able to hear you. And also the people in the rear for clarity.
Excuse me, and thank you for the question. In my opinion, the timing is that we did hear a few times from the clerk that there is going to be this review that's taking place to look at all of these processes, why not put something like this in place now? And that can gather data and collect some information as we go towards that big review. We don't know when that big review is going to take place. So that's my answer. I think it's best to do it now and to put it in place now, and that's something that we can study and always change over time.
Thank you. Further on the question?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Tim Matthews, Precinct 1. Obviously, you all have seen me on Article 29. I'm strongly in favor of indefinitely postponing this. I think it's a naked power grab on the part of the Finance Committee. If you actually look at the list of proponents for this motion, you will find that a large number of them are either currently sitting on the Finance Committee or spouses of people sitting on the Finance Committee. And I think we have to ask why that is. This is not an open and transparent motion. It is trying to consolidate additional power in the hands of people who aren't accountable to the voters in a way that relates to work on Finance Committee. It's even with the amendment that was offered tonight, it doesn't make any case, any strong case for why another elected official should be substituted for the elected official that's already sitting on the committee. And as you know, I've advocated for just changing the process completely and making upgrades to the way we look at it. But this is not something that's intended to have more openness and transparency in the process. It's intended to lock in a certain number of people on Finance Committee in perpetuity should they actually decide that they want to stay. I believe that what we need in this town is more openness, more transparency, and more participatory governance that doesn't consolidate the power in the hands of an increasingly smaller number of people who believe that they're going to use this as a vehicle to drive their own political views in front of the rest of the town. I genuinely believe that this is anti-democratic, and it just should not be happening. We shouldn't be having this conversation. I agree with the chair of the select board that if we want to engage in a larger community-wide process to actually look at the way we do appointments in this town, we should do that. But we should do it in a way that is open and brings in feedback from community members, because for all of the arguments that have been previously made, there have been no major changes in the way the process has operated in recent years. Indeed, 2 former Finance Committee chairs came to Select Board and said that there have been occasions in the past where a reappointment was not made of a sitting member of Finance Committee because of information that came to light during the appointment process. And I believe that is actually a very fair thing to do. And I think if you all go back and listen to the information that's available in the publicly recorded meetings regarding the turbulence that happened last summer, you will find that there were strong arguments made in favor of keeping this process the way it was, even though I don't personally feel that's the way we should move forward. So I'm strongly in favor of indefinitely postponing this and look forward to working with all of you in the coming years to put together a better process for how we handle appointments across boards. Thank you, Madam Moderator.
Thank you. Further on the question? I'm going to stick with them just because you're in line before you, if that's okay.
Oh, thank you, Madam Moderator. Diabjurius, Precinct 8. I think the fact that we've seen 2 articles dealing with the structure of appointment to the Finance Committee indicates that our community is asking questions. And I think we need to answer those questions. I'm not completely sure what all the questions are and what the problems are we're trying to solve, which is one of the reasons I think we should indefinitely postpone this. This particular, there are some changes made in this particular motion which I do not understand the ramifications of. In particular, we have an appointment of new members, which is made by 3 people, which is different from the appointment of returning members. So I need to understand why that's the case. I don't know what that means, if it has any meaning or no meaning whatsoever. I should note that while I do understand why you would want to have returning members, I'm on an elected board which recently went through a sea change in membership. We have to deal with this all the time. We don't get the luxury of hoping that, to be honest, most incumbents in this town can retain their seat. We have really poorly challenged elections in town, and I really wish we would have more competition. But the point is, elected boards can't predict that we're going to have the same members. And so we try to create ways of passing on, our knowledge through staff members, et cetera. So I don't know that that is unique to the FinCom in terms of retaining that knowledge. I am concerned that a lot of times in our town, people don't run for office because they see someone else who is an incumbent in that place and they just wait for the position to open. And I think that if we create a situation where it's expected that incumbents will stay, we will not get the sort of robust challenging of ideas that we need in this town. And so that again is another question. I'd like to understand how we can improve that sort of the interaction of our community with our governance. And I think that we need to put this particular motion off to the future and have a deep thought about the roles of committees that answer just to town meetings. There are other committees which are appointed and answer just to the select board or just to the planning board. Each of those committees has a different role, and perhaps the selection process should be different between them. But right now, I have too many questions to really understand the ramifications. So I would urge you to indefinitely postpone this motion, and let's have a committee, which maybe we can talk about in the spring, and think more deeply about these issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Further on the question?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Mariano Golubov, Precinct 5. First, I just want to make something clear. This is the second time that the chair of the Finance Committee said that they can't buy a pencil. Finance Committee has a $5,000 budget, and they also control a $400,000 reserve fund that they can transfer to any other budget. So in my household, $405,000 buys a lot of pencils. But as far as Article 30, I think we should indefinitely postpone. This is looking for a problem where there isn't one. This is implying that somehow there's a problem with the reappointment process, that it needs to move up. And really the only change is taking the chair of the select board out and putting the chair of the Board of Assessors. But there isn't a problem with reappointments. In the last 10 years, only 2 people have not been reappointed. In the last 4 or 5 years, only 1 person has not been reappointed. 99% of people who want to be reappointed get reappointed. So what's the problem? There's no problem here that we're trying to solve. Now, I agree that maybe we need to change it. Obviously, we've had a lot of different people who think it needs to change. But this leaves the process exactly how it is today, except with taking the chair of the select board out and putting the chair of the Board of Assessors. It doesn't make any sense, especially because we don't have a problem with reappointments. Everybody here has been reappointed. In fact, and it's not politicized. When I was chair of the select board, I appointed John Miller to Finance Committee. So it's not about politics. Yeah, you're welcome. Those of us who serve, by the way, I serve both in Finance Committee and Select Board. Select Board does a tremendous amount of work. And it's, by the way, also unpaid, right? I mean, they're all volunteers. I was also a volunteer. And we do that much work because we care about the town. We're not appointing people based on politics. We're appointing, in fact, if anything, we want to have people of different political views in Finance Committee so that they challenge each other at the table of Finance Committee so that they bring us better product to us. And this doesn't help that. This hurts that. So I think we should indefinitely postpone.
Thank you. Further on the question?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Jared Cumming, Precinct 4. And in the interests of full disclosure, the spouse of a Finance Committee member. I am fascinated by the discussion, Madam Moderator, that's occurred here on this issue tonight. It's a small change, it's not a big change, this is minor, it's 1 person. And then we have such a dark view that the sinister nature of these dark forces, it's a power grab, it's this very, very sinister view of what is going on here. And spouses. Well, we can talk about spouses more broadly in the town and town government, I suppose, if we wanted to go down that line, but we're not going to. We're going to take a higher road. This is a yes-and moment for the town. There are no dark and sinister forces at work here. This is about trying to make things work better. Now, a small change, confusion around the appointments and reappointments process, don't indefinitely postpone this. This is a yes-and moment. Take this vote, vote it up or down. It's a simple change. And then, yes, and let's do the bylaws. Let's do this more comprehensively. Let's talk about all non-elected. Let's talk about all elected. Let's do a comprehensive review of how we do town government. Absolutely. But in the meantime, to streamline things, do not vote to indefinitely postpone, vote to support 30, and yes, let's all be together on this and do a comprehensive bylaw review. And let's not try to take dark and sinister views and ad hominem attacks on people's motivations. Thank you.
Thank you. Further on the question, then we'll take the motion up for vote.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Megan Blackwell, Precinct 7. I will vote against indefinitely postponing this article because, as some have said before me, this seeks to address two problems that have arisen over time. One, as stated at the Select Board meeting this summer, the reappointment process is unclear. There is uncertainty about how it's done for appointments versus reappointments. So this seeks to address that. The second problem that this seeks to address is removing the potential for conflict between the Select Board and the reappointment of Finance Committee members who may have disagreed on certain articles. I don't know, maybe healthcare, maybe override approvals. There are many potential examples. And I feel that FinCom meetings, town meetings should be safe spaces where you can express your opinion, vote your opinion, and not have to fear to be voted out or not voted to be reappointed because of your opinions. That just really bothers me. And one small correction, Mariano, the FinCom budget is now 2,000, I believe. It was reduced. We cut our own budget. Thank you. I hope you'll vote against indefinitely postponement because we're here to discuss this. We can shed light on some of these questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Town meeting members, if you could get your clickers out, we're going to make a vote to consider indefinite postponement of Article 30. If you are in favor of indefinitely postponing Article 30, you would hit the green button yes. If you are not in favor of indefinitely postponing Article 30, you would hit the red button for no. The light is on. Please check your clickers. Definite postponement requires a 2/3 vote. And how do you vote?
I'm sorry, what's his name?
Precinct 4.
I don't know his name. What is your name again, sir? Okay. Precinct 5, is it? 4. And you were a no vote?
Should be a yes.
Yes vote.
It's a switch.
So this one's a switch, okay. So it's still.
Mhm. 141 having voted, 94 required in the affirmative for adoption. There are 83 in the affirmative, 56 in the negative, and the motion fails.
Point of order.
Yes.
Motion to indefinitely postpone, I believe by Robert's rules, requires a majority vote.
In our town charter or the bylaws, it requires a 2/3 vote, but that is correct. Which reminds me, town meeting members, in the original, I was kind to allow the town meeting member who called me in order, but if you read our town bylaws, they actually allow the moderator to call voice votes at their will without requiring that checker, but I was kind and allowed it to go forward. Further on the question, returning back to Article 30 as amended.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Chris Nixon, Precinct 1. I would rather see this wait for a comprehensive bylaw review, as many have articulated tonight. So I did vote for indefinite postponement. However, it failed. And I was listening carefully to Mr. Boksansky as he was presenting this tonight, and I was looking at the writing. And so if this should pass town meeting, I'm actually rising to make a friendly motion that I hope Mr. Boksansky would be willing to accept. As presented to us, it's clear how new members are to be appointed. There's a second paragraph that speaks to current members. I believe that this article is silent on former members who do bring valuable perspective to FinCom. In his presentation tonight, Mr. Boksansky did say, if you serve on FinCom for 3 years and then you decide that you want to come back and do it again, there should be a process for that. There is a member of FinCom who was at the table, who's now standing right behind me. There have been members of FinCom in the past who've served, done a great job. They've left, they've served the town in other capacities, they've gotten valuable perspective, and then they've come back to serve again. So my friendly motion is that 4.1.3a be reworded to say reappointment of current and former members, current and former members of the Finance Committee, and so forth. Because I think if we're going to make a distinction, we should just recognize that some folks have served in the past and they've come back some years later, and I would hate for there to be ambiguity or confusion about how those folks might be treated. So that's my motion, and I'm interested in this, if Mr. Boksansky might welcome that. Thank you.
There is a motion on the table. Is there a second? Second. Jimmy Johnson with the second. At this time, there has been a motion to amend Article 30, Section 4.1.3a to change from current members of the Finance Committee to current and former members of the Finance Committee. Mr. Boksansky, do you have any comments on the change?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I have no objection to this. As I stated in my presentation, I am open to different ideas that can help perfect this process, so I'm open to this change. Thank you.
To the Select Board, may we have a recommendation?
So we're still unfavorable action on this article, but with respect to the motion, it's not really a material change in the sense of how it, for these purposes. So we'd be fine with the friendly amendment unanimously.
FinCom, may we have your recommendation?
The consensus is we will abstain. The change is not a material change.
Did the Committee on Regulations have any change to their position? I believe it still stands. Committee on Government Regulations, did you have any comment on the...
On that language, no.
Okay. We will now debate the motion to amend Article 30 to include former members. Any members wish to speak on the motion to amend to include this? We are just speaking on adding in former members.
And Sarah, Precinct 1. We're clearly writing this on the floor. There was a blatant error in 4.1.6, which I don't agree with the change. I was literally handed this motion earlier. I say, let's stop writing this motion on the floor, vote no for this motion, and then no for the underlying article.
Thank you. Any other further comments? I believe everyone's waiting to go back to the original motion, so we'll take a vote. Get your clickers out. This is a motion to amend Article 30 to include under Section 4.1.3a, current and former members. Those in favor of the motion to amend to include former members of FinCom in that section, you hit the green button. Those who are not in favor of the change, you would hit the red button. Light is on. We'll roll through. If you have any issues with your votes, please rise. Mrs. Gannon, do you need a new clicker? Okay. Her clicker's not working. How do you vote? Mrs. Gannon, how do you vote? I believe we fully rolled through and everyone's checked their votes. There are 74 in the affirmative, 51 in the negative. The affirmative has it, and the motion to amend has been accepted. Further on the question?
Good evening, town meeting. Greg Sawicki, Precinct 1. This motion is about reappointments to a committee, and I think it's been already commented a few times about the qualifications or requirements to be reappointed, appointed, elected to anything. And I think the fact that there are people in this body who have gotten up and said that prior views, opinions, actions should have no bearing on an appointment, reappointment, or an election is absolutely abhorrent. Everything we say and do in a public body should be public record, is an expression of how we feel about things, and if they have bearing on our role on a committee, a board, as an elected or appointed official, that should be allowed to take the appointing body, give the appointing body a chance to sort of weigh those in. Just to say, well, we'll ignore everything that was said here or that was done here in making a decision about reappointment or appointment is absolutely ignoring facts. But the other question that I have here is, why should reappointment be different than appointment processes? And I'd like to ask via Madam Moderator to the proponent, why the Select Board Chair is being cut out of the reappointment process and why it's being made different, what the rationale for that is, and what the rationale is for bringing in the Chair of the Board of Assessors, why that was chosen.
To the proponent of Article 30, can you please provide town meeting information of why the Select Board has been removed from the appointment process in your proposal and replaced with the Board of Assessors, both elected bodies?
Thank you, Madam Moderator, and through you to the members. As I stated in my presentation, the chair of the select board remains a part of the initial approval appointment process. In the new process we're trying to establish for reappointments, that does not include the select board chair. That includes the moderator, the chair of the finance committee, and the chair of the board of assessors. Thank you. Why? Thank you, Madam Moderator, through you to the members. Why is because it's a committee of 3, and I was looking for an impartial, objective view to vet candidates who have already served a term on Finance Committee. So, again, in my opinion, initial process is 1. Once you've demonstrated you can get through that initial process and you get approved and you can serve on Finance Committee, the second time through should not be as rigorous, in my opinion. Thank you.
Further on the... there's been a motion to move the question. Is there a second? Second. Can we get a name? Thank you. Let me write that for the clerk for you. 1 second. A move the question has been made. So town meeting members, that we stop immediately with debate. We go to vote to make a decision if we want to stop debating. It's just a vote whether we want to stop the debate and questions and comments on Article 30 as amended. If you get your clickers out, give us 1 minute to get the vote ready for you. It requires a 2/3 vote. A vote in the affirmative means that you do want to stop the debate, questions, and comments on Article 30 as amended and go directly to a vote. A vote no means you would like to continue to hear the questions and comments and continue on Article 30 as amended. It requires a 2/3 vote to pass.
Yeah, try and get it closer. It didn't work? Thank you. All right. I voted yes. On this one? Okay. We're gonna...
Yeah.
Are you gonna stay the remainder of the meeting? I'll program you into one. Yeah.
I believe we've gone through everyone. There are 135 members voting, 90 in the affirmative required for adoption. There are 85 in the affirmative, 49 in the negative, and the motion is lost. Continuing onward to debate, I believe next in line, who's going to get it? We'll go with the longer line. Go ahead, Mrs. Verdicchio.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I'm Susan Verdicchio, Precinct 1, another former Select Board Chair. I do prefer Ms. rather than Miss or Mrs., if you don't mind. Thank you. So I'm just very confused, and I concur that we are drafting this on the floor. We're also discussing this as if it's only a change to the reappointment or something to do with reappointment, where the first paragraph does speak to appointment of new members. So looking at that paragraph, I have a question through you, Madam Moderator, to Town Council, I guess. This new sentence says that the chair of the Finance Committee shall convene and preside over the committee appointment process, which may include but not be limited to interviews and the submission of supporting background materials, which would be, I guess, like a resume or something. So my question is, this, the use of the word may in the second clause. So does this mean it's up to the discretion of the presiding Finance Committee chair who's presiding over this process that there can be interviews and supported background materials or not? There could be nothing? Could you help me understand that question?
To Town Council, in section 4.1.3a at the end, the proponent is using the word may, which may include but not be limited to interviews and the submission of supporting background materials. The question to Town Council is, may, does that mean they should or they are not required to follow this line?
The word may is discretionary, so they are not required.
Okay, so thank you. Again, I would agree with whoever said that this is a solution in search of a problem. I don't think the existing process needs to be changed. If it does need to be changed, we need to have a bigger discussion and a more representative sample of, just more residents and more eyes on this. So I would be in favor of a study committee. But I have to say, as when I was select board chair, I did participate in this process a couple of times. And the initial year, as I think one of the other select board members explained back in July when this first came up, you would get an email from the Finance Committee chair, and then the moderator would vote yes. And then as the last person to vote, the chair of the select board, based on this email chain, you would go yes or no. So it was very perfunctory. We had the same moderator, re-elected for over 30 years. As someone else has already mentioned, people feel kind of inhibited about running against somebody who's been in the position for a long time. People are inhibited about trying to volunteer for things if someone else has been in office for a long time. So I think we do need to have a better rotation, have new voices, and open up town government to more people for better discussion, and it would just be more democratic, small d, not political, small d, democratic. So again, I would be in favor of a study committee. I'm not in favor of this, and I think we should go back to the drawing board. Thank you.
Thank you. Further on the question.
Good evening. Thank you, Madam Moderator. My name is Brian Vernalia, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 4. Mr. Nixon alluded to the fact that I was a Finance Committee member for 5 years. I'm now also, again, a Finance Committee member, but all my comments tonight are mine as a town meeting member. We've talked a lot about basically cutting out the select board of the reappointment process. And I think that what's trying to be said is because FinCom needs to be independent. And what I want to say to you is that FinCom should be, but is independent. None of the 15 members are allowed to serve on any other town committee unless they are appointed by and representing FinCom. And members are free to vote as they please and need approval from no one. Article 30 does not increase the independence of Finance Committee. Furthermore, Finance Committee advises you, town meeting. And of course, as has been said numerous times, town meeting is free to disregard that advice. but as one of the few bodies asked to opine on every financial matter and afforded a table at the front of town meeting, they have an outsized voice. They set their own goals, which may or may not align with those of the town. If that voice or those goals at some point no longer align with towns as a whole, oversight external to the committee must continue to exist as it already does now. That oversight would be damaged with the passage of Article 30. For this reason, I urge you to vote no on Article 30. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Further on the question?
Colin Simpson, Precinct 5, but I'm speaking as the chair of the Committee on Government Regulations. The Committee on Government Regulations, when we review articles, we do not show our positions. We simply are looking at the language. And the people on the committee will be voting different ways, I'm sure. But we have been asked to caucus, and we have caucused with the town council. And there is a problem, a potential problem, with the language of 4.1.6, filling of vacancies. And I think the town council explained that there's a problem with the word shall. It is potentially discriminatory, and but as I mentioned in my earlier remarks, the people on the government regulations is not here to decide whether something is in order or not in order. Would you please sit down, sir?
No,
I'm speaking.
I have a point of order. I believe the language to which you refer is the existing bylaw.
No, that is.
I believe.
Please take a seat. Nope, that is incorrect. Please continue. I apologize.
Thank you very much. The point of what we have discussed has been reviewed by town council, and I am giving the opportunity as a friendly amendment to the proponent. Would the proponent change the word from shall to may in paragraph 4.1.6? Whenever a vacancy occurs on the committee, it may be filled in the manner set forth in section 4.1.3.a.
There is a motion to amend. Is there a second? Under 4.1.6, the language on the motion to amend, as amended at this time, has the word shall. The member is asking that the motion to amend is to take the word it shall to it may. Filling of vacancies, whenever a vacancy occurs in the committee, it may be filled in the manner set forth of section 4.1.3a above. Making 4.1.
I'm sorry, again, I believe that's a point of order, and you can check with council. That language is the existing bylaw that Mr. Simpson is talking about.
No.
Check with council.
No, the one online.
You are incorrect. Please stop interrupting.
It says shall. John, I'm online. Section 4.1.6 right now, filling of vacancies reads, existing today. Whenever a vacancy occurs on a committee, it shall be filled in the manner set forth in section.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
It says shall.
He's suggesting that the motion.
No, because in the bylaw, as it's written, it's section 4.1.3. The person who is bringing it before town meeting changed that to 4.1.3a, which is only for the reappointment of members that are current and former members. The individual is correct. Town council is correct. Now, we have a motion to amend to take it out of shall and make it may. There has been a second for that.
she's going to clarify.
Just a point of clarification, the shall that I was referencing is under 4.1.3A. Reappointments shall be made prior to the appointment of new members. That was the shall that I was referencing that should be changed to may.
Yes.
I'm sorry, was that directed to me?
So
They're
what
both,
was,
there was both, but go ahead.
so the shall that I was referencing that should be changed to may is under 4.13A, the second sentence that starts with reappointments. So reappointments may be made prior. I think that you read 4.1.6.
I did. You did this.
I did.
Is this the one you want changed?
It's just one I thought was the problem.
Oh, no, this is this is the one that's the problem. We've already changed this. Really insane.
This is torturous.
Are you removing your motion to amend? I can. Thank you. Motion's been recalled. Continuing on with the debate.
Madam Moderator, oh.
I'm going to go with the people who are in line first, if that's okay, because they've been waiting a long time. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Carol Savage, Precinct 5. I have one process question. I think one of the things we're discussing tonight is what's the right process for deciding if we want to make changes to the appointment or reappointment process of the Finance Committee. And one idea that I think has perhaps, don't go anywhere, Rich Mucci, that one idea that has been
Mr. Mucci, I believe you have a question coming your way.
Is that perhaps this could be folded into a decennial, I don't know if I have that right, review committee that is reviewing all of our charter and bylaws. That's part of a decennial review process. I guess through you to, I don't know, it's the town clerk or the chair of the select board, would such process be relevant to what the Committee of Government Regulations would review when they're going through a standard review process? And then I will have a follow-up question.
Thank you. To the town clerk.
Can I ask you something and then make a clarifying statement?
Can you answer her question first? She has a question for you.
I wasn't.
To the town clerk, can you please provide town meeting information that if a bicentennial review were to take place, if the concerns that have been voiced would be reviewed by the Bicentennial Review Committee, which would be led by the committee on...
It's by decennial.
Decennial. My apologies.
You guys are making me work out tonight. Yes, absolutely. I mean, I have been your clerk in this community for almost 18 years. I've been doing this profession for 31. I have been through a review with this town one time in 2008. I do absolutely believe that this is an awesome town. I live here, raise my family here. I think that we can absolutely bring all of these concerns to a public hearing, public informational session. I will be the clerk of that group, and if town manager would like to assign other folks, like the town attorney, we would certainly welcome that. We do have equal representation for each precinct. We need people to help us with this. And it isn't just for me to go through the existing dog license bylaw and decide that the pooper scooper law needs effect, needs something to be changed. This is bigger than that. And I think that as long as we can have a conversation at the select board table as to what those issues are, submit them, come up with a process, and then the committee will review it. And we'll bring it back to you. Now, it is an election year, so I can't guarantee that I could do this by the spring. But I think 1 year from now, we could bring you a variety of those comments, and then we can build upon that. Some of these issues may even have to go to the ballot. It depends on what extent you want to do the amendments. And if that's the case, then there's a whole nother process to add ballot questions to our town election ballot. Now, I'm also going to make a point of clarification, if I may, Madam Moderator.
Please proceed.
Okay. This is a little bit challenging, but I'm going to take the hit. Okay, so you all know that there's a town meeting guidebook that we give out to you on occasion. Sometimes it's every year, sometimes it's every 3 years. Quite frankly, I don't remember the last time we gave it to you before COVID. There's a typo on that chart. And Madam Moderator was elected, I believe, in 20, Heather? Or 21?
21,
21, okay. Our moderator has had an incorrect chart. She has been announcing that the motions to indefinite postponement are 2/3. They are not. They are a simple majority. There has been debate over that through these town meetings. Most of them were on the remote when we were in hybrid. And I knew about the error a handful of times, pointed it out, but the reality was it didn't make a big impact. It didn't have an impact in past votes that we've done. So we didn't shed a light. But this is a problem. We need to just tell you there's a clerical error, the chart is incorrect, and Madam Moderator has been using it. And so I'm going to take the hit. I'm the clerk. We must have had a mistake. So here we are, and technically everything that you all been talking about is for naught. Okay? Because it indefinitely postponed. You guys did it by majority vote right out of the gate. I'm just telling you as your clerk that I have told folks that this is an incorrect ruling, but I am now going to tell you I'm going to take the hit, and I'm going to ask you all to start doing it the right way. We follow Robert's Rules of Order. We don't follow something else. At least not now, we don't. I mean, unless you want to change that and you don't want to use Robert's Rules of Order anymore. But we have to correct this because right now, this particular vote is going to have a ripple effect. There have been times when you've made motions to indefinite postpone and it's been insignificant. And so I haven't made a stink about it. Tonight? You certainly can do that. I'm just letting you know that our Madam Moderator has an incorrect chart, and it's not of any fault, no blame. And I hope you can respect that. Thank you.
Point of order, I'm in the middle of my comment.
You may make a motion to indefinitely postpone this.
Point of order.
However,
Can I finish my...
Motion has already been indefinitely postponed. There is no motion currently on the floor. We should move to Article 31.
Yes, right.
Once the moderator makes the call, we're not allowed to go back without a vote. I think the easiest way forward, finish your statement, and then let's go into the vote.
Okay. This is interesting.
I know.
So, where I was, now I'm a little rattled. I voted no on definite postponement because I wanted us to discuss this. I wanted to have the opportunity for this body to discuss this. I asked these questions to find out whether the decennial review process is a mechanism for us to discuss this as a community, and I think I learned that it is. Given that the current Finance Committee is not even unanimous about this, I think it would be useful for us to have more unanimity on how this process should work. I don't think this particular motion is the answer to the process, but I think other communities, the town of Wayland formed a committee to study their process. A lot of other towns use just the town moderator to appoint their finance committees. I don't happen to think the current process is broken, and I won't go on about why I don't think the current process is broken. But I think if we are going to review the process, we should do it correctly. And I would have moved, but I'm not sure I can anymore. I would have asked whether it would be a relevant motion to make to refer this question and maybe the questions raised under Article 29 to the Decennial Review Committee when it is formed. And so that was where I was headed, but I don't know if I need to step aside.
So you have a motion to send to the Decennial Review?
Yes, I think this process would be well served. I feel like it would be useful for this body to charge the Decennial Committee with evaluating this process so that it is part of their charge when they are formed.
Okay. I think we're going to keep that one in motion. We're going to keep that motion in motion here. There is a second. I'm going to repeat it.
My motion is that town meeting requests that the Decennial Review Committee take up the matter of how Finance Committee is appointed and reappointed as part of their review of the Charter and Bylaws of Winchester.
So you're sending to a committee, which is the Decennial Review Committee.
The Decennial Committee, which I understand to be the Committee on Government Regs.
Yes.
Point of information. Point of information?
Yes. Chris Nixon had the second.
Point of information?
Yep.
Does the committee, the Decennial Committee, does that actually exist? Have we approved
yes,
it?
The Committee on Government Regulations, which has representation of all precincts, is here. It's a town meeting member committee that's already in place. And they will work with the town clerk, with the select board, with boards and committees to gather information, go through all of our bylaws alongside town council, and work to codify them, but also take input and make recommendations for changes as needed.
Great, thank you.
And then they come back to town meeting with those recommendations. It is a process. It's led by the town clerk, and town council also supports that process when it comes in. To refer to committee, that is correct. It only requires a majority vote. Do we need to debate whether we send it to committee? Seeing no one rise, let's take our clickers out. If you would like this sent to the Decennial Review, hit the green button for yes. If you do not want it sent to the Decennial Review, hit your red button.
Decennial.
My mouth is so dry, I'm good. Yes. I'm sorry, what? It is moving Article 30. It's actually just sending it to a committee. Article 30 as amended.
As per the motion.
As per the motion. And essentially, it also activates that review committee to activate. Having 109 in the affirmative, 25 in the negative, the affirmative has it, and the motion passes. At this time, it's 8:30. I believe town meeting could use a 10-minute break. However, please come back. If we do not have enough members, we will not be able to finish our business. I believe it will be rather quick to move through the rest of it. So I ask you to please stay. Do not use this as a way to sneak out.
Can you show Meelan my report? She's going to give my report. I'm going to have to leave. Meelan, can you give my report? I got it. So where do we get the cash?
You looking for this 32?
Meelan, come over here. That's my slide on 32. Can you give the finance committee report?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Alan Iden here at the Winchester High School for the fourth session of fall town meeting, fall 2023 town meeting here on November 16th. Well, any hopes of moving quickly through the rest of the agenda of the warrant before the recess were dashed. So let's go back and recap what has happened so far. We skipped ahead to Article 33, which was the report of the Community Preservation Act Committee. We heard from the Vice Chair of the Select Board. Community Preservation Act is a surcharge on, if passed, is a surcharge on real estate taxes. The funds can be used for open space, historical preservation, affordable housing, or recreation activities. The state would provide some matching funds should the town adopt this. Many towns in the Commonwealth have done that. This again is just a report on the committee. An actual article on the CPA will be presented to spring 2024 town meeting, and then presented to the town for a townwide vote in November of next year. The committee would be formed to recommend allocation of funds to town meeting. The funds come from a surcharge on the real estate taxes. There are exemptions in place based on income levels. The committee is recommending a 1.5% surcharge, which they said would result in about a $2 million of extra funds for the CPA each year. They said they addresses the highest needs of the town and would have had a significant effect if it had been passed 10 years ago of $50 million plus for things, some of the things that were put in the capital budget, as you may have seen in an earlier session, like repairs to the bell tower at Town Hall, which is a historic building, and repairs to the roofs of some of the schools. Again, the vote was just to accept that report and place it on file, and of course that was passed. We came back to Article 30, which has been debated for about an hour now. This was an amendment. This was a proposal to change the way Finance Committee members are appointed and reappointed. It was amended by the citizens. It's a citizen petition. The first item of business was that town meeting members are supposed to receive a 7-day notice of any changes in the articles in the warrant. So the first question was, would town meeting waive that 7-day advance rule? And the town meeting members voted to yes, to waive that rule. So this is a somewhat complicated article that involved a lot of word changes, amendments. For appointment of new members, it changes let's see if I get this right. The majority vote of the appointing committee. There is an appointing committee for these finance committee members. For reappointments, it deletes. First of all, it deleted the immediate past chair of the finance committee, and select board for reappointments was replaced in the amendment by the chair of the Board of Assessors, only for reappointments, not for new appointments. We heard the Finance Committee is a demanding job. It should be non-political, and there is no policy in our bylaws about appointments of the appointments and reappointments to the Finance Committee. At this time, reappointments are considered ahead of new appointments. The Select Board was unanimously opposed to it. A motion to indefinitely postpone failed. The Finance Committee is voted favorable, not unanimously, but they also commented, the chair commented that experienced members are very valuable to the Finance Committee. One of the town meeting members called this article, quote unquote, a naked power grab by the Finance Committee to lock in current members. Another town meeting member said that the new appointment differs from the reappointments and that it inhibits people from applying to boards when current members want to stay on the board. There was an amendment to allow former members of the Finance Committee to serve on the committee. That passed. The question was moved and it failed. However, the town clerk came up and said that the town moderator has been working off an incorrect chart, that indefinite postponements, which had failed just a few minutes earlier, only require a majority vote, not a 2/3 vote. And she said she took the hit. The town moderator was told it was a 2/3 vote, but that is incorrect. So there was almost a motion to indefinitely postpone. Again, it was not made. There was a motion to submit this whole article to a government regulations committee, something called the Bicentennial Committee, which I have to confess I have not heard of, and that they should review this. That was passed, and that ended the discussion on Article 30. It's been referred to a government regulation committee. So town meeting's in recess. The moderator asked for only a 10-minute recess to try and get moving and get through the rest of the warrant on this night and close out the fall town meeting. So I'll be back with a recap of the meeting when the meeting adjourns.
WinCam is more like the public library. It's a resource for folks who live or work in Winchester. But instead of loaning out books or those types of resources, we're loaning out cameras. People see us at government meetings like a town meeting or select board meeting, and they think that's sort of WinCam's role, but there's really a lot more to what we're covering and what we're documenting. For example, the high school sports that we cover. There's all kinds of community events that we not only document, but we normally will carry live, and we're actually archiving all of those too. So the town's history is actually being recorded. In addition, WinCam is a great place to pick up some professional production skills at a reduced price. People are often really surprised when they come down and visit us for the first time. They're amazed at the facility itself and the resources that we're able to offer to residents. People are always like, I can't believe I didn't know this was here. Well, access to media shouldn't be limited to those who can pay the high price, right? So that's what community media is all about. You should be able to come in and learn how to create your own media, and you should be able to turn on your television or your computer and access local information and entertainment. That's what WinCam does really well. That's what we're all about. That's the mission. And that's what public access in its core was set up to do from the very beginning.
Incoming for the next article. We need volunteers. In order to keep up the level of sports coverage WinCam currently provides, we are in need of additional support. What does WinCam cover? WinCam broadcasts Winchester High School volleyball, football, basketball, hockey, and more. These games stream live on our website, as well as on our cable channels. All games are then uploaded to YouTube for replay. If you're interested in sports broadcasting, camera operation, commentating, and more, email us at wincam@wincam.org to see how you can get involved. WinCam is excited to let you know about a new course we're offering to Winchester residents. Introduction to Video Editing in Adobe Premiere Pro is an intensive 5-session, one-on-one or small group course designed to provide a solid foundation in post-production. From file organization to color grading, we'll provide a comprehensive overview of the program, which has become the industry standard for video editing. Participants will learn by doing and leave having edited a polished scene. Premiere Pro is one of the top editing programs used by professionals, and since it's part of the Adobe Creative Cloud, Premiere integrates seamlessly with other industry standard programs such as After Effects for visual effects and Audition for audio mixing and editing. WinCam will soon offer courses in other software programs so students can get an education that elsewhere would cost thousands of dollars. Our class is ideal for students interested in pursuing media as a career, adults looking to broaden their skill set, or anyone who is passionate about content creation and the visual arts. This class will be taught on-site at WinCam by our Training and Outreach Coordinator, Kayla Avitable.
Hi, I'm Kayla, and I'm excited to use my experience in video editing to help people in town learn these skills and bolster their media toolset. To learn more about how to sign up and course logistics, scan the QR code or visit wincam.org/Adobe.
This course is offered year-round at $325 for all 5 sessions. Scholarships are also available for those in need of financial assistance. Finally, a year of membership to WinCam is included in the price of the course, giving you access to our state-of-the-art facilities and equipment.
We hope to see you here for this course. Soon, you'll be making videos just like this one.
I sent it to you this afternoon. You said you got it. It's in place. I don't know everybody's names. Oh, David Miller. Okay. I have that one up. Live again. It was in the this final session one, right? So it was part of Article 3. I didn't know they were combined. On its own?
Town meeting members, can you check your clickers, please? We're looking for clicker number 64.
PDF?
It's time to win the lottery. If you want to have clicker number 64, can you please come see me?
Yep, I have. So to move it, advance, forward, and back. Sorry, I don't know all your names. That's happened when you send it out. This will be the last time you see me for a while in this context, so it'll be the last time you see me doing this for a while, so.
All right, town meeting members, if you can start taking your seats. Hello. Hope you enjoyed your break. We're going to be moving on to Article 31, coming forward by the Conservation Committee. It is moved and seconded that the town approve Article 31 as printed in the warrant. On behalf of the Conservation Committee. Mr. David Miller.
Commission. Who are you? Thank you, Madam Moderator. Hello, everyone. I'm David Miller. I'm the newest member of Precinct 5, but I'm here for you this evening as the representative for the Conservation Commission, of which I am the chair, and we're seeking your support for Article 31, which is a modest amendment to the public shade tree bylaw. The public shade tree bylaw, for those of you who may not be familiar with it, was approved by town meeting in 2012. Among the many things it does with regard to public trees, it creates the Permanent Street Tree Committee. Article 31 proposes modifications to the membership paragraph of the Permanent Street Tree Committee, the paragraph describing its membership. It proposes no other changes to this bylaw. A little detail. This bylaw is enacted for the purpose of preserving and protecting public shade trees pursuant to Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 87, and to protect trees on municipal property. So a couple of things. One is it only is focused on public trees, trees that are either in the public way or on town property. And the other is that it's a refinement of an already existing state law that refers to public trees. This is just one paragraph from the bylaw that speaks to the Permanent Street Tree Committee. This bylaw also relies on the Permanent Street Tree Committee, empowers the committee in conjunction with the tree warden to work with the select board to regulate the removal and replacement of trees in certain circumstances and to promote the planting and protection of trees throughout the town. So why are we proposing these changes? In one case, they're housekeeping, which is to say they're really required. Over the years that the bylaw has been in existence, we've actually lost one of the original member committees that was in the bylaw indicated as a standing member of this committee. I'll give you the details on that in a second. And also this section of the bylaw requires a further clarification on voting and how a quorum is reached. It's also an opportunity to strengthen the bylaw, which is to say there's some desired changes. And in particular, these proposed modifications take advantage of gains in available town resources since the passage. And by that I mean human and governmental changes, which is that we now have a sustainability director in town, and we also have a committee in the Climate Action Advisory Committee whose purpose and intent is very much in line with the goals of this committee. It also clarifies certain administrative operations of the committee. I'm not going to read this. You've all got it in front of you, but I put it up here for reference. So the changes that we are talking about, first of all, what is existing today in the bylaw is that the Planning Board, the Conservation Commission, the Town Forest Committee, and the Design Review Committee are the committees who provide members to this committee. The Tree Warden is also indicated as a member of the committee. As, again, some of you may know, some of you may not, the Tree Warden is the head of DPW per the statute, this bylaw. It turns out that there's only 4 actual voting members per town practice on this, so that's an uneven number. The language is a little bit confusing as to the status of the tree warden when it comes to voting, so what we're proposing clarifies all that. The other thing is the Town Forest Committee does not actually exist anymore. The town planner and the tree city liaison, which is the assistant town engineer, are administrative aides to the existing committee. So our proposal is to keep the planning board, keep the conservation commission, put the climate action advisory committee in place of the no longer in existence town forest committee, keep the design review committee, and add an at-large community member so that there's an uneven number of members, 5 for voting purposes. The tree warden, the town planner, the Tree City USA liaison, and the sustainability director would be members who participate and deliberate in our meetings but do not vote. So the quorums would be drawn from those in green, and those would be the voting members of this. So this is what the final outcome would be if you adopt, as we hope you do, this article. And that's it.
May we have a recommendation from the Select Board?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. The Select Board voted favorable action on this article.
May we have a recommendation from FinCom? On behalf of FinCom, we have a new face. Welcome.
I'm Milin Chong. I'm standing in for the chair, Dr. John Miller, because it is his birthday, so I think it's nice to give him a break. We did not vote on 31. Thank you, Madam Moderator.
May we have a recommendation from the Planning Board?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. The Planning Board voted unanimously in favor of this article. I'm going to keep this short. Town street trees are important members of our community. They provide shade, habitat, and joy. The Planning Board has been active for the last several years envisioning how Winchester can protect and enhance our suburban forest, and the reinvigoration of the Permanent Street Tree Committee is exciting and timely. We are really excited to see that it is moving forward with momentum. Thank you.
Thank you. May we have a recommendation on climate action? On behalf of Climate Action, Member Ruth Trimarchi.
Good evening. With 507 members of the Climate Action Advisory Committee present, we unanimously voted to adopt this statement. The Winchester Climate Action Plan calls for ongoing adoption of low-impact development practices, including protection of our municipal trees, to help protect Winchester from flooding, land erosion, and high heat days. Consistent with this goal, the Climate Action Advisory Committee approves of the inclusion of CIAC as one member of the Permanent Street Tree Committee and thereby votes approval of Article 31. Thank you.
Thank you. Town meeting members, any questions or comments on this article? Please proceed.
Good evening, Jennifer Hafley, Precinct 7. Apologies for having a question. I know everyone's ready to go. Madam Moderator, through you to the proponent. Love trees. I'm just curious. It looks like everybody cycles off of this committee at the same time, and I wonder if that was intentional.
To the sponsor, can you please provide town meeting information about why this cycle of the appointment?
It was to keep things simple, and the thought was, since all of the committee members come from other committees where they're in staggered arrays, it sort of achieves the same thing. It didn't make sense to repeat it twice.
So is that how it actually works? So people would cycle off of that committee. When they cycle off of the committee they're already on?
Yes.
I hate to do this. Could I move that this also be referred to the decennial committee on, unless it calls for actual debate, in which case I wouldn't, but I would just informally suggest it then.
Yeah, I know they do. I just want to let you know that this is standard practice in some of the boards and committees, just so you know.
Fair enough, then I withdraw the motion.
You don't have to. I just want to let you know before.
That's fine. I do withdraw the motion, but I hope that maybe all of these will be discussed.
Yeah, everything should be discussed in the Dyson.
I got a note.
The clerk is adding it to her notes. Yes, Mr. Nixon?
Madam Moderator, just hearing what I thought I heard a moment ago, if the expectation is that members will cycle off because they come from other elected boards where they have limited terms, and I see you nodding, there might be a helpful clarification here. There are some committees in town in which other boards appoint someone on their behalf. However, they are not required to be a sitting member. Perfect example is the EFPBC, in which the Finance Committee has an appointment. They're not required to be a sitting member. At Capital Planning, there are 2 Finance Committee members, one of which must be a sitting Finance Committee member. So through you, Madam Moderator, to the proponent, is the intention that these representatives be sitting members from these sitting committees? And if so, is a helpful or clarifying amendment warranted just to make that point?
That was the intention, and in fact, this language was drafted by Town Council with that being the intention. But an amendment which makes it more clear is okay with me, but I would rely on Council to probably make that suggestion.
That was the intention to Mr. Nixon, your question, that was the intention, is that it could be a member of the board or committee or a representative of the board or committee.
No, the intention was it would be a member.
And Madam Moderator, that's my question, because I'm just now picking up. I think these are two similar but different thoughts. If the intention is they would be a member, I would respectfully suggest that the second line that says these members include a representative from, that could simply be changed to members of the following committees. We have many examples of this. I'm thinking off the top of my head, but I know the clerk is aware. We have many examples, that refer, there's simple language how to articulate this more clearly than what I'm doing. If the intention is that these be sitting members from these committees, I think the language should be changed to make that clear. Otherwise, these committees could choose whoever they want, which, could also be okay. But just want to be sure I understand what the proponent's intention is.
To Town Council, can you please confirm under Article 31 as moved and seconded that this is to be representative of each board and committee is to be appointed, or can they do representatives from other entities? So, for example, if the planning board does not have a member, they can choose someone else to represent on their behalf to sit on this. Permanent Street Tree Committee.
So you're referring to this language right here?
Right, so it's where it says representative from, his suggestion would be a good one, representative of, if that wouldn't mean it was a member from the committee. So the goal was, and this is the practice, that a member of the, for example, planning board would vote one of the members to be a member of this committee. They wouldn't go looking elsewhere for a member for this committee.
So so the question is whether the interpretation of a representative from could also include an
A representative on behalf of a sitting body.
They appoint someone from that committee.
We're trying to get clarification from you whether, as the bylaw currently reads, can they appoint someone other than the sitting body to represent them on this, or does it have to be a sitting member of that board or committee?
It would have to be a representative from the committee, from the board.
Thank you. So, Mr. Nixon, to answer your question, the way that it is currently written, the representation has to be of someone who is currently sitting on the board or committee. You cannot sub it out with someone to represent you that is not part of the board or committee.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Seeing no one else rise, I believe we're ready for the vote. Given the time, I'm going to try voice vote first. It's a simple majority. If it's in question, we'll go to our clickers, but I would like to try to expedite it, so I'm going to use my authority to do that. All those in favor of accepting Article 31? Aye. All those opposed? The ayes have it, and the motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Moving on to Article 32. And as a reminder, the Personnel Board is bringing this before you. And they do have openings and would love more participation on their board.
Hello, everybody. Once again, I stand between you and my dinner. All right, I stand before you to discuss Article 32, the Personnel Board article. It is unusually simple, let's hope. We have 6 motions. I have control. All right, there we go. All right, so quick overview. So motions 1, 2, and 3 are related to the DPW union contract, which has been signed. So the way these usually work and the way this one works is the first one we vote on the change in the compensation schedule, and then after that we vote on the money to pay for the change in the compensation schedules. So motion 2 will be the changes that we bring to FY23, which is which are retroactive, and motion number 3 is the changes that we bring to FY24, which will be partially retroactive since we're halfway through the year, or about halfway through the year.
Motion 4 is several changes to, let's see, reclassification. So several reclassifications within the Recreation Department to deal with changes in how much they want to pay people. Motion number 5 is to add a new employee to town government called the, I believe it's called the coordinator. We'll talk about that in a minute. It's the application coordinator for the building and zoning. And finally, there's a tree warden who suddenly we're all talking about. Okay, motion number 1. In this particular case, the way this contract has come down, these are the changes that cost. Well, these are the main changes. Some don't cost any money. So the COLAs are for FY23, again retroactive. That's 2.25%. For FY24, that's 2.5%, which is half retroactive, and FY25 is again 2.5%. There's increases in longevity pay. There's changes in the stipend that members of the union get for maintaining their commercial driver's license. There's a change in the number of allowable authorized absences for snow and ice in order to be paid for being out there plowing the snow and ice. And there's the institution of the Juneteenth? Yeah, get that one? Juneteenth holiday, which has no cost because it does not end up having people necessarily work the holiday, unlike the firefighters and the policemen's union. Okay. So this is the cost of the change to the actual pay. So this is not stipends. This is not other longevity pay. This is the change in the steps of the contract. As you can see, in the first year by itself, there's a 48,000 and change difference in the salaries. For the next year, it's a 55,000 change in salaries, but an overall change from if we had no contract of $103,000 and change, and then the final year of the contract has about a $58,000 change over the previous year, with a total change over the life of the contract, if there had been no contract, of about 160,000. This is the change in the longevity pay. You're seeing 2013, 2014, 2015, and then jumping to 2023 because there has not been a change in longevity pay since 2015. So you can see you can see the change in the bolded column on the right. The cost of the change. Nothing in FY23. It's a $2,000 change overall in both 24 and 25 for an overall effect of about $4,000 over the life of the contract. This is the change in the stipend for the commercial driver's license. As you can see, again, we got 94, and then 2022. And then finally, the changes that and so there hadn't been a change since 95. And as you can see, it goes from 1,000 to 1,200 to 1,300 to 1,400. And so the effect of that change in 23 is $7,000, and then half the amount, because it only grows by $100 a year, $3,500 in 24 and 25 for a total of $14,000 over the life of the contract. So now we talk about paying for this. FY23, we need to appropriate a certain amount of money to pay for the wages that will become back pay for the members of this union for the work they did in FY23. The total cost of this motion is $48,179, of which $31,626 comes from the FY unallocated wage account, and $16,553 comes from the water and sewer retained earnings account. Motion 3, now we're paying for the retroactive portion of FY24, and that cost, well, actually we're paying for both the retroactive and the forward portion of FY24. The total cost of that motion is $103,800, $869, of which $67,946 comes from FY24 unallocated wages, and $35,923 comes from the water and sewer retained earnings. Okay, whoops. Motion 4 is, as I said, these create and reclassify several positions within the recreation department. So we add a licensed child care assistant director at R8, and then we reclassify the tennis maintenance supervisor, the after-hour licensed program director, and the tennis director, all from R8 to R9. These will be paid for within the recreation department's budget. Motion 5 is to create the position of building and zoning application coordinator. This is a reflection on the complexity of the issues that are coming before the Board of Appeals, both the complexity and the number, and this new position would be supervised by the building and zoning and building commissioner and the zoning enforcement officer. By the way, and I should have mentioned this, all of the motions so far, we've recommended favorable action, and we will continue to do that into the future. Okay, motion 6, the last one, the big one of the day, is the deputy tree warden. This is a stipend which would be given to whoever it is who is appointed to be the tree warden. This would be in addition to whatever their other pay within the town government would be, and this is and this person who's actually the previous motion pretty much dealt with it. I don't need to go any further, and we recommend favorable action on that. So that is it. Okay.
Thank you very much. Could we get all the motions up on the screen while I read them?
Oh, that's, yeah, not mine.
Yeah. Just so town meeting can have it in case they don't have it in front of them. While we do that, may we have a recommendation from the select board on motions 1 through 6? We're going to do them the same way, where we ask for your recommendation on the motions, and then I'll read each one and take questions and vote.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. The Select Board unanimously voted favorable action on all 6 motions.
Thank you. May we have a recommendation from the Finance Committee? Oh, sorry, I jumped the gun.
The Finance Committee voted favorable action, as you can see, for all 6 motions, and then you can also see the financial impact on the 2 motions, which is also mentioned by the Personnel Board. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to motion 1, it is moved and seconded under Schedule 7, TEA Compensation Schedule, W grades, fiscal year 24 of the town's compensation plan be amended, revised, and modified in accordance with the recommendation of the Personnel Board as set forth in Appendix A, SEIU Local 888, DPW Workers Union Wage Adjustments for fiscal year 23, fiscal year 24, and fiscal year 25, and pursuant to a Memorandum of Understanding, MOU, reached between the Select Board and the Winchester DPW Workers Union, SEIU Local 888, dated August 14th, 2023. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? The ayes have it unanimously. Motion 2, it is moved and seconded that the town appropriate the sum of $48,179 to fiscal year 24 municipal personnel services budget as listed below to fund fiscal year 23 retroactive wage increases for employees of the Winchester Department of Public Works Workers Union effective July 1st, 2022. $31,626 shall be transferred from fiscal year 23 unallocated wage account 0312551. $16,553 shall be transferred from the water and sewer retained earnings. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? The ayes have it. In motion 3, it is moved and seconded that the town appropriate the sum of $103,869 to fund fiscal year 24 municipal personnel service budgets as listed below to fund wage increases for employees of the Winchester DPW Workers Union effective July 1st, 2023. $67,946 shall be transferred from fiscal year 24 unallocated wage account 0312561, and $35,923 shall be transferred from the water and sewer retained earnings. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? The ayes have it. Moving on to motion number 4, it is moved and seconded that the town's compensation plan be amended effective January 1st, 2024, as recommended by the town manager and the personnel board as set forth in Appendix B, proposed classification of positions on Schedule 6, Recreation Compensation Schedule Fiscal Year 24, effective January 1st, 2024. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? The ayes have it. Motion number 5. It is moved and seconded that the town's compensation plan be amended effective January 1st, 2024, as recommended by the town manager and the personnel board and set forth in Appendix C, proposed classification of positions on Schedule 3, PT compensation schedule fiscal year 24, effective January 1st, 2024. All those in favor? All those opposed? The ayes have it unanimously. Motion 6 is moved and seconded that the town's compensation plan be amended effective January 1st, 2024 as recommended by the town manager and the personnel board as set forth in Appendix D, proposed classification of positions on Schedule 5, miscellaneous positions compensation schedule fiscal year 24, effective January 1st, 2024. All those in favor? All those opposed? The ayes have it unanimously. We have already done Article 33. Article 34 has been definitely postponed by the sponsor, so I will not read that into motion, into record. Article 35, there was some questions regarding this. Based on the Article 30's motion, we do not need to take any action to activate the decennial review, so this also is a motion that we will not be taking any action on tonight. That concludes our fall 2023 town meeting. Thank you so much to all the town meeting members and to all the staff that supported this. We do need a motion to adjourn and dissolve. All those in favor? All those opposed? The ayes have it unanimously. Have a great night. Please return your clickers.
High School and the fourth and final session of Winchester's Fall Town Meeting has just adjourned. So let's cover what happened tonight. The first item on the business was to skip to Article 33, which was a report from the Community Preservation Act Committee. We heard that the adoption of the CPA, Community Preservation Act, the funds could be used for open space, historical preservation, affordable housing, and recreation uses. The state would provide some matching funds should the town decide to adopt the CPA. The article for adoption will be presented to next spring's town meeting, and then a townwide vote could be taken in November of 2024. A committee would be formed to recommend allocation of the funds raised by this. This would be raised, the committee is recommending a 1.5% surcharge on the real estate taxes, which would raise, they said, about $2 million a year, address some of the highest needs in the town. They also said if it had been passed 10 years ago, it would have a significant effect, about $50 million, addressing some of the needs that were addressed by the Capital Committee on this town meeting, such as repairs to the town hall bell tower and some of the school roofs being historic buildings. Again, that was just a warrant article to accept the report and place it on file, so it was unanimously passed. We went back to Article 30, which was an article to change the way the members of the Finance Committee are appointed and reappointed. This is a citizen's petition. The previous article was voted down and definitely postponed, rather. So this article was to change the town's bylaws on the way the Finance Committee members are appointed and reappointed. The first item of business was that the town meeting did not get 7-day advance notice of this as is required by the rules. So it was required a vote by town meeting members to waive that rule, which they did. Again, it deals with the appointments of new members. It changes the majority majority vote of the appointing committees. It deletes the immediate past chair of the Finance Committee from this appointing committee. And for reappointments, it removes the chair of the Select Board and replaces it with the chair of the Board of Assessors, just for reappointments. And we heard comments, the Finance Committee is a demanding volunteer job and it should be non-political. There is no policy in our bylaws for the appointment and reappointment of Finance Committee members. And we heard the reappointment should be considered ahead of new members, again, by the petition. The Select Board said they were unanimously opposed to it. They made a motion to indefinitely postpone it, which failed. The Finance Committee was favorable, not unanimously, but voted favorable action and said that experienced members of the Finance Committee are very valuable. One town meeting member said, quote unquote, it was a naked power grab, unquote, by the Finance Committee that locks in the current members. Another town meeting member said the new appointment procedure differs from reappointments and inhibits, in his opinion, her opinion rather, inhibits people from applying to boards who, when many want to stay on the current board. There was an amendment to allow former members of the Finance Committee to serve on the committee. That did pass. A town meeting member moved the question. That failed. However, the most drama of the evening came when the town clerk came up and informed town meeting that the chart provided to the moderator requiring a 2/3 vote for indefinite postponement was incorrect, and indefinite postponements only require a majority vote. So that would have ended debate much earlier on this Article 30, so debate resumed. There was a motion to refer this to the Committee on Government Regulations, again, something called the Bicentennial Committee, which I had to admit I'm not familiar with, but I did, during the break, spoke to several members that said there is a committee, I'm not sure the exact name, but that committee should review this. So basically, town meeting said they passed that, so the whole article has been sent for review by this Committee on Government Regulations. After recess, we came back for Article 31, which was from the Conservation Committee to create a permanent street tree committee as required by state law, consisting of 5 members, which were listed in the warrant. That passed. Article 32 was the annual report of the Personnel Board for pay changes and classification changes. There were 6 motions there, some requiring financial considerations, transfers of money, but all passed. Articles 34 and 35 are basically housekeeping articles. Those were both indefinitely postponed, and that wrapped up town meeting. Spent a lot of time on some of these articles with, in my view, some of the comments less than civil, and I think the town moderator did a pretty good job of controlling them, but there does seem to be a lessening of civility in this meeting, which hopefully will be resolved and everybody can get back to disagreeing in a polite and respectful way. Anyway, that wraps up our coverage of the Winchester Fall Town Meeting. I want to thank you for joining us, and thank you to the WinCam crew here at the high school through all 4 sessions, bringing these to you so that you can be informed about what's going on with your town government. So for all of us here at WinCam, I'm Alan Iden. Thank you. Have a great night.